Dreams have fascinated humanity since the dawn of consciousness. Those fleeting stories that unfold behind closed eyes, leaving us to wonder, what do they mean? Are they mere echoes of our waking lives or portals to something deeper? Two towering figures, Carl Jung and Friedrich Nietzsche, offer us lenses to decode these nightly visions. Jung, the Swiss psychologist, saw dreams as a bridge to the unconscious, a realm teeming with symbols and archetypes that shape who we are. Nietzsche, the German philosopher, approached the human psyche with a different fire, viewing our inner world as a battleground of instincts, creativity, and the will to power. Together, their ideas illuminate the shadows of our sleep, revealing truths we might otherwise overlook. Tonight, we'll journey through their perspectives, unraveling what our dreams say about us. Imagine lying in bed, the world fading, and suddenly you're soaring above mountains or fleeing an unseen terror. What's really happening in those moments? Let's dive in and find out. Jung believed dreams were more than random firings of a tired brain. They were messages from the unconscious, a hidden part of ourselves that speaks in riddles. He argued that this unconscious isn't just personal, it's collective, a vast reservoir of human experience stretching back millennia. In your dreams, you might encounter a wise old man, a shadowy figure, or a nurturing mother. Not because you met them yesterday, but because these are archetypes, universal patterns embedded in us all. Take a dream of falling. Jung wouldn't just say you're anxious about a job interview. He'd ask what falling means to humanity. Loss of control, a return to the earth, a descent into the unknown. Last night I dreamt of a crumbling bridge, my heart racing as I clung to the edge. Jung would see this as my unconscious wrestling with transition, a symbol of crossing from one phase of life to another. His approach invites us to look beyond the surface, to see dreams as a theater where the soul performs its deepest dramas. What symbols haunt your sleep? A snake? A storm? A locked door? Jung says they're not accidents, they're invitations. Nietzsche, on the other hand, didn't write explicitly about dreams as Jung did, but his philosophy crackles with relevance here. He saw life as a dance of chaos and creation, driven by the will to power, the urge to assert ourselves against the void. Dreams in this light become a playground for that will. Think of a dream where you're a king commanding armies or a rebel defying a tyrant. Nietzsche might say this isn't just escapism. It's your psyche flexing its muscles, testing its strength. I once dreamt I was shouting into a storm, my voice swallowed by the wind, yet I kept screaming. Through Nietzsche's eyes, this wasn't defeat, it was defiance, my will refusing to bow. He'd argued dreams let us confront the absurdity of existence without the constraints of waking rules. Where Jung sees meaning in symbols, Nietzsche sees energy, a raw pulse of life breaking free. Have you ever woken from a dream feeling invincible or utterly crushed? That's Nietzsche's territory, the dream as a mirror of your inner fire. Let's pause on that fire for a moment. Jung and Nietzsche, though different, intersect in a curious way. Both saw the human mind as layered, complex, and restless. Jung's unconscious teems with inherited myths, while Nietzsche's psyche churns with primal drives. A dream of a labyrinth could thrill them both. For Jung, it's the soul's journey through its own mysteries. For Nietzsche, it's a challenge to conquer. Picture yourself lost in that maze, walls shifting, exits vanishing. Last week, I dreamt of wandering an endless forest, trees whispering secrets I couldn't grasp. Jung might call it my search for the self, that elusive core of identity he believed we all chase. Nietzsche might laugh and say, it's my will clawing for dominance over confusion. Together, they suggest dreams aren't passive, they're active, dynamic, a dialogue between what we know and what we've forgotten. What mazes do you wander in your sleep? And what do they whisper back? Now let's talk about the shadow, Jung's term for the parts of ourselves we bury. He believed this shadow stalks our dreams, wearing masks we'd rather not face. Maybe it's the rage you suppress, the jealousy you deny, or the fear you hide behind a smile. In a recurring dream, I'm chased by a faceless figure, always one step behind. Jung would say this isn't random. It's my shadow demanding attention, forcing me to reckon with what I've ignored. He urged us to integrate this darkness, not flee it. because wholeness comes from embracing the ugly bits too. Nietzsche, though, might see that chase differently. To him, it's not about reconciliation, it's about power. Who's stronger, you or the shadow? Do you turn and fight or keep running? Both thinkers agree the dream isn't neutral. It's a confrontation. What shadows lurk in your nights? And what happens when you stop running? The beauty of dreams, Jung argued, lies in their symbols, images that carry weight beyond their form. A river might mean life's flow. A bird might be freedom. A broken clock could signal time slipping away. He called this the language of the unconscious, universal yet personal. I once dreamt of a raven perched on my windowsill, staring through me with coal black eyes. Jung would ask, "What's the raven to you?" To humanity, it's often death or mystery, but to me, it felt like a warning. He'd push me to decode it, to see how my life story colors the symbol. Nietzsche wouldn't care for the symbol's meaning. He'd focus on its impact. Did that raven stir fear, awe, or resolve? For him, the dream's power lies in how it moves you, not what it means. So next time you dream of a wolf or a flame, ask, what does it evoke? That's where the truth hides. Let's shift to something wilder. Nightmares. Jung saw them as the unconscious, screaming when we've ignored it too long. That monster under your bed? It's not just a childhood relic, it's a piece of you, clawing for air. I had a nightmare of drowning, waves pulling me under as I fought for breath. Jung might say I've submerged something vital, emotions, desires, truths, and it's fighting to surface. He believed nightmares jolt us awake, not just physically but spiritually, demanding we listen. Nietzsche, ever the provocateur, might call that drowning a test. Can you master it? Can you rise above the chaos? He'd relish the struggle, seeing it as life's essence distilled into a single, brutal vision. Both agree nightmares aren't meaningless. They're loud, insistent, alive. What terrors visit your sleep, and what do they want from you? Time slips strangely in dreams, doesn't it? One minute you're sipping coffee, the next you're centuries old watching empires fall. Jung tied this to the collective unconscious, where past, present, and future blur into a timeless stew. A dream of ancient ruins might not be about your last vacation. It could be humanity's memory bubbling up, connecting you to something vast. I dreamt once of a battlefield, swords clashing, though I've never held one. Jung would say it's not my memory, it's ours, a shard of the collective psyche. Nietzsche wouldn't bother with origins. He'd ask what that battle does to me now. Am I the warrior or the ruin? For him, the dream's value is its intensity, its ability to shake us loose from mundane time. Have your dreams ever bent the clock? What eras do they drag you through? Let's explore love and dreams, those tender or torrid visions that leave us blushing or broken. Jung saw romantic dreams as projections of the anima or animus, the inner feminine or masculine we all carry. Dreaming of a mysterious lover might mean you're meeting a part of yourself, not just pining for someone real. I once dreamt of a woman dancing in a field, her face shifting between strangers and friends. Jung would call her my anima, guiding me toward balance. Nietzsche might scoff at the symbolism and say it's my will craving connection or power over it. He'd focus on the passion, the drive behind the dance. Both suggest these dreams aren't accidents. They're mirrors of our deepest yearnings. Who visits your romantic nights? And what do they reveal about your soul? Flying dreams, soaring above the world untethered, captivate us all. Jung interpreted flight as transcendence, the psyche reaching beyond its limits. When I dreamt of gliding over a city, weightless and free, he'd say it's my unconscious stretching toward the self, that integrated whole he prized. But there's a catch. Jung warned that flying too high, like Icarus, signals inflation, ego outpacing reality. Nietzsche would cheer the flight differently. To him, it's the will to power in full glory, defying gravity, society, everything. He'd urge me to keep soaring, to test how far I can go before the fall. Both see the dream as aspiration. But where Jung seeks harmony, Nietzsche craves triumph. When you fly in your sleep, what lifts you and what pulls you back? Death haunts our dreams too. skeletal figures, fading friends, or our own last breath. Jung viewed death dreams as transformation, not endings. The unconscious uses death to signal change, a shedding of old skins. I dreamt of my own funeral once, watching from above as mourners wept. Jung would say it's not morbid, it's rebirth, my psyche clearing space for something new. Nietzsche might see it as a challenge. Are you strong enough to face oblivion? He'd relish the confrontation, the chance to stare down life's ultimate boundary. Both thinkers strip death of its finality in dreams, turning it into a question. What dies in your dreams, and what rises from the ashes? Let's linger on the absurdity of dreams, those bizarre mashups of logic and nonsense. Jung embraced this chaos, arguing it's the unconscious playing, mixing symbols to shake us loose from rigid thinking. A dream of a talking fish selling me a car? Jung would grin and say it's my psyche riffing on commerce and instinct. Nietzsche might call it a burst of creative madness, the will to power laughing at convention. I once dreamt of a clock melting into a river, time dripping away. Jung would decode the symbols. Nietzsche would revel in the defiance of order. Both saw value in the weirdness, a reminder that our minds are wilder than we admit. What's the strangest dream you've had? And what did it dare you to see? Recurring dreams. They're the stubborn ghosts of our sleep, aren't they? Jung believed they signal unresolved tensions, looping until we face them. For years I've dreamt of a locked room, the key just out of reach. Jung would say it's my unconscious banging on a door I've bolted shut. Maybe a fear, a memory, a truth. He'd urge me to find that key in waking life. Nietzsche might frame it as a test of endurance. How long can I wrestle this riddle before I break through? He'd see the repetition as a call to power, not just a puzzle. Both agree these dreams nag us for a reason. They're not content to be ignored. What loops through your nights? What's it begging you to unlock? Let's talk about control, lucid dreaming, where you seize the reins of your nightly tale. Jung was cautious here. He thought too much control might silence the unconscious, turning dreams into ego-driven fantasies. When I've gone lucid, steering a dragon through the sky, Jung might warn I'm drowning out deeper voices. Nietzsche would love it. Lucid dreaming as the will to power incarnate, bending chaos to your command. He'd say, why let the dream rule you when you can rule it? I've found lucidity thrilling yet fleeting, like holding water in my hands. Both thinkers raise a question. Is the dream more alive when we steer or when we surrender? Have you ever taken the wheel in your sleep? What did it teach you? Animals stalk our dreams. Wolves, birds, serpents, each with a primal pulse. Jung saw them as archetypes, ancient energies surfacing from the collective unconscious. A snake slithering through my dream might be rebirth or danger, depending on my life's lens. He'd ask how I feel about it, how it ties to human lore. Nietzsche might see that snake as instinct unleashed, a raw force testing my strength. Did I flee or strike? For him, the animal's power matters more than its meaning. I once dreamt of a bear guarding a cave, its eyes locked on mine. Jung would call it a guardian of my depths. Nietzsche would dare me to fight it. What beasts roam your nights? And what do they demand? Water flows through dreams, rivers, oceans, rain, shifting from calm to chaos. Jung tied it to the unconscious itself, fluid and boundless. A dream of swimming in a stormy sea might mean I'm diving into my own depths, facing what's submerged. He'd ask, are you sinking or swimming? Nietzsche might see that sea as life's tumult, a chance to prove your mettle. He'd cheer the struggle, the waves as foes to conquer. I've dreamed of a flood swallowing my home, panic blending with awe. Jung would decode the emotions. Nietzsche would praise the fight. What waters flood your sleep? And how do you navigate them? Let's consider the body in dreams. Sometimes it's ours, sometimes it twists into something else. Jung saw bodily dreams as the psyche grounding itself, linking mind to flesh. When I dreamt my hands were stone, heavy and cold, he'd say it's my unconscious signaling rigidity. Maybe I'm stuck. Nietzsche might call it a test. Can I wield that weight or crumble under it? He'd focus on the sensation, the power or weakness it stirs. Both suggest the body in dreams isn't random. It's a canvas for the soul story. Last month, I dreamt my voice was gone, swallowed by silence. Jung would probe the loss. Nietzsche would ask if I roared anyway. How does your body shift in dreams? What does it whisper? Colors paint our dreams, vivid or muted, each hue a thread in the tapestry. Jung linked colors to emotions and archetypes. Red for passion, blue for calm, black for the unknown. A dream awash in crimson might mean anger or vitality bubbling up. I once dreamt of a golden field, glowing under a strange sun. Jung would say it's the self shining through, a glimpse of wholeness. Nietzsche wouldn't care for the symbol. He'd ask how that gold made me feel, exalted or restless. He'd see color as fuel for the will, not a code to crack. Both agree dreams use color deliberately, splashing our nights with meaning or might. What shades flood your visions? What do they ignite in you? Let's touch on prophecy, those eerie dreams that seem to predict tomorrow. Jung was skeptical but open. He coined synchronicity for meaningful coincidences beyond cause and effect. A dream of a friend's call, followed by their voice the next day. Jung might say it's the unconscious tapping into something larger. I've had dreams that felt like warnings, like a car crash I dodged weeks later. He'd call it a mystery, not magic. Nietzsche would dismiss prophecy as distraction. What matters is how the dream spurs you now, not its fortune-telling. He'd say, use it, don't worship it. Both challenge us to weigh these glimpses without losing ourselves. Have your dreams ever hinted at what's next? How did you meet them? The crowd in dreams, strangers, friends, faceless masses, shapes the stage. Jung saw them as projections, fragments of the psyche wearing human masks. A dream of a jeering mob might be my own self-doubt, amplified. He'd ask who they represent in my inner world. Nietzsche might see that mob as a foe to overcome, a test of my will against the herd. I've dreamt of a silent audience watching me stumble. Jung would decode their eyes. Nietzsche would dare me to stand taller. Both suggest the crowd isn't just noise, it's a mirror or a gauntlet. Who fills your dream's theater? What role do they play? Let's end with awakening, that jolt from dream to day, carrying echoes of the night. Jung saw it as integration, the unconscious handing us gifts to unwrap. Waking from a dream of flight, I might ask, what freedom am I chasing? He'd urge me to weave it into life. Nietzsche would call it a spark. Take that energy and wield it. No navel-gazing required. I've woken with my heart pounding, the dream's taste lingering. Both thinkers agree it's not over when your eyes open. It's just beginning. Dreams don't vanish. They ripple. What do you carry from your nights? And where do you take it? So here we are, decoding dreams through Jung and Nietzsche. Two guides, two torches. Jung offers a map of symbols and shadows, a quest for the self through the unconscious. Nietzsche brings a hammer smashing complacency, urging us to seize the dream's power. Together they reveal our nightly visions as more than whims. They're battles, bridges, revelations. Next time you sleep, listen closely. That crumbling bridge, that raven's stare, that drowning sea, they're speaking. What will you hear? What will you do? The stage is yours every night, a theater of the mind where the curtains never fall.